My name's Mike, and I'm the owner of a website called beerloons.com, where we have all sorts of beer recipes, all sorts of interesting information on beer reviews, how to brew, common questions, all sorts of things for you to become either a better brewer or learn how to brew for the first time. This is going to be a quick video on how to make beer from extract. Just to let you know up front, I'm not going to cover everything and how to make beer. In fact, I'm not even going to cover the equipment that you necessarily need to know, because most homebrew supply shops would be happy to assist you on what equipment you need to get started. You will see a lot of what I use throughout the process, so you'll at least get some ideas. But this is just about how to make an extract beer. And as far as it goes, the recipe that I'm doing today is a beer called Jake's. Jake's Light is real simple. We're going to start off, and we need 6 pounds of gold malt extract, sometimes referred to as light as well if you can't find this. You also need your hops. In our case, we're going to use an ounce of Mount Hood and an ounce of Fuggle. Now, the version I have here is the US version, but you can also find a UK version as well. And then, because I do like to have some flavor in the beer just beyond the malt, we're going to use grains as well. And in our case, our grains are made up of 1 pound of flake rice, a ½ pound of caramel 40, and a ½ pound of carapils. Now, I've already got my water heated up to 152 degrees. Sorry, I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I'm actually starting to run a little warm. And I have about 3 gallons worth of water in here. And you want a stock pot that's at least capable of holding 4 gallons of water. The bigger the better, but at least 4 gallons, because we are going to end up making a 5-gallon batch. And what we're going to do is we're going to steep the grains. Real similar, or actually the same basic process as making tea. All we do is we're going to set them in the water here, and I prefer to mix them up having some form of spoon. Everything here is going to be boiling, so we're not worrying so much if it's wood or plastic or whatever. I just happen to have a stainless steel spoon. One principle is roughly 152 degrees on your water. That tends to be one of the better extraction rates for maybe any flavor, sugars, whatever. The warmer you are from 152 degrees, the more opportunity there is for maybe a little bit more extraction from the grains than you want. Or you can even start drawing out some of the tannins that are part of the grain. And tannin typically is a very earthy note, but sometimes can be a very bitter note as well that's noticeable in the beer. Anything lower than 152, let's say you're down at 140 degrees, you don't get a very good extraction rate, meaning the starches don't convert into sugar very well, and that can affect your overall alcohol potential that you want. So I'm going to let this sit. What you do is you leave it in here for a half hour. We have completed a half hour of steeping our grains at this point. I'm going to get this thermometer out of the way here. We'll set it down. And we're ready to remove the grains. We don't need the grains anymore. They've done their job. Maybe you stirred them around once or twice in that half hour. And we're ready to go on to the next stage. Now, the next part of this process is adding your liquid malt. And we'll turn this off, and I'm going to go ahead and add our malt to this. Now, a little trick is if you take your liquid malt, it's very thick. It's like molasses. I set it in hot water toward the end of the steep or whenever you want to do it. That way it becomes a much lighter consistency. Now, you'll also notice I moved the kettle over from one burner to the other. I'm cooking on gas. That's great. You shut it off. You can leave it on the same burner. If you're on electric, remove your kettle from the burner. Get it off the heat source, because this being a thick substance, it likes to sink. And if it ends up on the bottom of your kettle, it tends to like to scorch. It scorches very easily. So what we're going to do is we're just going to stir this in real quick. Okay, we've got our malt in here, and what our next stage of the game here is, we're going to go ahead and bring this up to a boil. Now, I've moved my kettle back onto my burner, And I'm just simply going to get the burner going. There we go. And we're going to bring it up to a boil. Right. We now have our beer up to a boil. Actually, at this stage, it's called wort. That's the technical term for beer before we add the yeast. So we got the wort up to a boil. I've got my package of Mount Hood hops, 1 ounce, ready to go in. I'm doing a 30-minute boil, so I'm introducing it right away. You could do up to a 60-minute boil, but for this recipe, you want to have the hops with 30 minutes remaining of the boil. So no matter if you're at 60 or 30 minutes, all we're looking for is 30 minutes left of the boil. So we dump that in there. This does tend to foam up a little bit, so do watch as you do this so you don't get a boil over. And now we're just going to wait. We're going to let this boil away. And with about 5 minutes left of the boil, so 25 minutes in, I'm going to add my next addition of hops. The Mount Hood is your bittering hops in this case, and we're going to use our Fuggle as our aroma hops. So I will be back with you in the next 25 minutes to add the next addition of hops. Welcome back. 25 minutes has gone by. We're now ready to add our aroma hops, which in our case is the U.S. Fuggle, 1 ounce of it. All you do again, pour it on in and let the boil take care of the rest. And in another 5 minutes, we'll get back and go on to the next stage, which is cooling off the wort. And we finished the last 5 minutes of the boil for that aroma hops, the Fuggles. We're now ready to cool off the wort. And to do that, with this small amount, I typically use a sink filled with cold water. What I do is I put the stock pot in the sink, fill it with cold water. It's a good idea to stir it up so more contact, the wort comes in more contact with the cold water. And then, because the waters can get hot several times, I will let the water cool it at first, give it a few minutes, drain the water, refill, and I do this for 3 times. Now this is where having a thermometer is very handy. We need to get this wort below 80 degrees before we could add the yeast. So I'll fill the sink a few times, get this below 80 degrees, and we'll go on to the next stage, which is adding the wort to the fermenter and then adding the yeast. Done cooling your wort, you're below 80 degrees. Now we're ready to go into the fermenter. And all you have to do, I use glass, but you're welcome to use the plastic bucket that a lot of people start with. I throw the whole hops and everything in there. If you like, there are the grain bags that also hold hops to maybe make cleanup a little bit easier, but I learned how to throw it right on in there. So all we're going to do is take our cooled wort and throw it in our fermenter. We'll next add the yeast. Okay, you've got your water topped off to 5 gallons. We're set to go to the last stage. Because I'm in a glass carboy, which is a very confined space and fermentation gets pretty active, I'm using a product called S-foam. It helps inhibit the yeast from forming a kreuzen, or the foam on top, more than about 1/2 inch to 1 inch at the most. I typically use about 10 drops. I think it's great for anyone that is using carboy as their primary fermenter. We've got that all added in. Our wort is all good to go. We're going to add the yeast. Just pour it on in if you're using liquid, which I strongly encourage. And we are all set with everything that we have done. You've added your yeast. The final step is taking your airlock here, filling it halfway with water, getting it on the carboy. Fermentation time, 1 week primary, 1 week secondary. I want to let you know I skipped an awful lot in this video, so please check out our website at www.beerlooms.com for more information. And I really appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. Enjoy your next home brew.